Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome back. Well, we've all been watching with great curiosity a recent decision with the FCC. It was right across party lines, 3-2, to come upon a policy called net neutrality. And what does that mean to the internet in the future? Well, we are honored to have with us today Hance Haney. He is the Director and Senior Fellow of the Technology and Democracy Project at the Discovery Institute. And he's going to share with us today his concerns about that. Hance, good to see you. How you doing, my friend?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you. You know, I've been reading some emails, and I was at the National Religious Broadcasters when this came about, and the NRB put out a fairly firm resolution on this. And then our Congressman Greg Walden chairs that committee, the FCC committee, the subcommittee in Congress. He put out an email yesterday. I'm still processing what he's thinking about doing. But how dangerous is this policy?
This is the worst possible outcome we could have had. Basically, this statute that the FCC is triggering is so expansive that it is a blank check. It is a green light to do whatever they want. We're going to have to, if this isn't overturned by the courts, that is, which I think is a distinct possibility, we're going to be fighting battle after battle, year after year after year. The FCC is going to be receiving petitions. People are going to be filing lawsuits asking for more expansive regulation. And so this is really a disaster. And I would just add that Congressman Walden wisely foresaw this and offered to work with offered to fashion bipartisan legislation that would deal with the issues that we normally think about when we talk about net neutrality, and that is blocking websites or offering pay for priority service or not having sufficient transparency regarding your billing and network management practices. So the congressman offered to pass legislation that would provide clear, stable statutory authority for the FCC to enforce this limited set of issues, and there was no interest on the other side of the aisle. So I have to look at this as instead really a power grab, wanting to have the latitude and the flexibility to impose any kind of regulation that regulators want to impose on the internet. And I would stress that I'm using the word internet here advisedly, because although this is targeted at broadband service providers, the statute is so expansive that arguably the FCC would have the opportunity to extend regulation to any corner of the internet ecosystem.
All right, boy, this is huge. A couple things. Protocol first. Can't Congress, isn't it Congress's responsibility as an oversight of this federal branch, the FCC, isn't it their responsibility to do something about this? I mean, can the FCC just implement this and this is it and the Congress can't interfere with it?
Congress can interfere at any time it wants, and I suspect that once the law, we're waiting for the order to be issued. Of course, this is like Obamacare. Nobody has seen what the order looks like outside of the commission, and so we're waiting for that order to be issued. Then it has to be published in the Federal Register, and it's only at that point that interested parties can file litigation. So we're probably looking at months from now that a court challenge will be filed, and then of course that could take 2 years or so to be resolved. But I have a suspicion that when the 3-judge panel of the Court of Appeals hears the oral arguments in this case and asks skeptical questions, which I'm quite confident there will be skeptical questions, that the other side will hopefully understand that this decision by the FCC rests on very rocky terrain as a legal matter, and that really telecommunications policy, which has always been very bipartisan, we need to return to that. And Congress has a responsibility to update the statute that hasn't been updated since 1996.
I can't help but think, yeah, I agree with you, Hance. I can't believe that, but help think that once the liberals really find out that this is damaging across the board, that they're going to have to stop and reconsider. First of all, it turns it into utility. Secondly, this opens the door for taxing commerce on the internet, which is probably the biggest commerce highway in the world right now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, telecommunications traditionally have been taxed at the same levels as alcohol and tobacco.
Right.
And states would love to be able to extend telecommunications taxes to the internet. We've been fighting this battle. Senator Wyden, of course, is the father of the Internet Tax Freedom Act. But that act was never drafted with this particular set of circumstances in mind. Arguably, now that broadband is a telecommunications service, states and localities are free to tax it like a telecommunications service. The estimates are, $10 billion in additional state and local tax revenues. And then there would also be on the federal end, there would be a 16.6% tax for universal service.
Wait till that hits. I can't help but think when people see this, they're going to scream. Now, the other part of it that we at the NRB were very concerned about, once you move it over and make it a utility, then you can regulate it. And by regulating it, you can control content. This now becomes a First Amendment issue. We saw this in education. We've seen it in the military. Now we're seeing it with the internet. And if they can control the content on an internet, then freedom of speech, First Amendment, goes away.
Yeah. And, if I could just add here, so the opponents might say, well, there's nothing specifically, you can't point to something in the statute which says that we can regulate content. They would challenge us to do that. And my response to that would be that the FCC has all kinds of ways to exercise its will, direct and indirect, transparent and completely opaque. And I used to be a lobbyist at one point, and, we would get called into the FCC and they would just tell us behind closed doors, we want this problem to go away, fix it, And so a lot of stuff happens that we don't even see. And for anyone to offer an assurance that regulating content would never happen, that's not the purpose of this. It would be, perhaps their intentions are good, but there's just simply no guarantee that would not happen.
We broadcasters think that this would be the open door to force fairness doctrine to come back on the scene. This would be the perfect platform to bring the fairness doctrine back.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no question that there are people who want to bring the fairness doctrine back and use it as a tool for silencing critics.
Right. All right. So what do we do, Nance? We feel hopeless out here. I mean, we got an agency that is doing what the administration is doing. They're legislating by executive order. You have an agency by their form of executive order imposing this on top of the American people with no response. I mean, what do we do?
And I hate to sound cynical here, but having been involved in telecommunications policy for many years, there's a perception in congressional offices that voters don't care about this issue. In other words, congressmen and senators never get asked about telecommunications policy when they're visiting their home states or districts. And so this has always been kind of regarded as an issue where if you're a member of Congress, you can kind of vote whichever way you prefer. Now, the other side generated 4 million comments, mostly mimeograph comments to the FCC. The other side has really pointed to that repeatedly over and over again as a significant development, and implying, of course, that there's absolutely no counterweight, that no voters, that is, are on the other side. So this is an issue, I think, where we have to kind of realize that it is a power grab. And for those of us who are concerned about federal government overreach in so many areas of our life, this is just one more example. And the thing about this one is that it's ripe. I mean, that is, it's headed for the courts. There's a chance to do something about this. I frankly think the law is on our side this time, and that there's a good chance that the courts are going to overturn this, and Congress will have the opportunity to act. And I hope they do that. To the extent that voters care about this issue, I mean, that would help a lot.
A couple things here, Hance, before I let you go. One is, isn't it interesting that Oregon's kind of in the center of this, because you got Ron Wyden's bill, Senator Ron Wyden, and you got Congressman Greg Walden. At least Oregonians should be responding to both their U.S. Senator and their sitting congressman on this issue to fight it. By the way, since you're somewhat savvy on the telecommunications issue, have you kept up with the concern that we LPTV operators are facing? On the repacking, the spectrum repacking issue.
Oh, absolutely. This is a train wreck, another train wreck waiting to happen. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm hot in that debate too. Hey, I appreciate this much. You're welcome to come on anytime that you need our help and to keep us informed of what's going on with this issue.
Oh, you're very kind. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Hance. All right, we'll be right back.